Now the word of Yahweh came to Jonah, the son of Amittai.
Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and preach against it, for their wickedness has come up before me.
But Jonah rose up to flee to Tarshish, from the presence of Yahweh. He went down to Joppa and found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare and went into it, to avoid the presence of Yahweh. But Yahweh sent out a great wind on the sea, and there was a mighty storm, so that the ship was likely to break up. The mariners were afraid, and every man cried to his God. They threw the cargo into the sea, to lighten the ship. But Jonah had gone down into the inner hold of the ship, and he was laying down, fast asleep. So the shipmaster came to him.
What do you mean, sleeper? Arise, call on your God. Maybe your God will notice us so that we won't perish.
They discussed the matter among themselves.
Come, let's find out who is responsible for this evil.
So they cast lots, and the lot fell on Jonah.
Tell us, please, whose fault is it that this evil is on us?
What do you do? Where did you come from?
What is your country and your people?
I am a Hebrew, and I fear Yahweh, the God of heaven, who has made the sea and the dry land. But I have fled from the presence of Yahweh.
Then the men were exceedingly afraid.
What is it that you have done?
What shall we do to you, that the sea may be calm for us?
For the sea grew more and more stormy.
Take me up and throw me into the sea. Then the sea will be calm for you. I know it is because of me that this great storm is on you.
The men rowed hard to get back to the land, but they could not, for the sea grew more and more stormy against them. Therefore they cried to Yahweh.
We beg you, Yahweh, don't let us die for this man's life, and don't lay on us innocent blood. For you, Yahweh, have done as you pleased.
So they took up Jonah and threw him into the sea. And the sea ceased its raging. Then the men feared Yahweh exceedingly. They offered a sacrifice to Yahweh and made vows. Yahweh prepared a great fish to swallow up Jonah. And Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Then Jonah prayed to Yahweh his God out of the fish's belly.
I called because of my affliction to Yahweh. He answered me. Out of the belly of Sheol I cried. You heard my voice. For you threw me into the depths, into the heart of the seas. The flood was all around me. All your waves and your billows passed over me. I said, I have been banished from your sight, yet I will look again toward your holy temple. The waters surrounded me, even to my soul. The deep was around me. The weeds were wrapped around my head. I went down to the bottoms of the mountains. The earth barred me in forever. Yet you have brought up my life from the pit, Yahweh my God. When my soul fainted within me, I remembered Yahweh. My prayer came to you, into your holy temple. Those who regard lying vanities forsake their own mercy. But I will sacrifice to you with the voice of thanksgiving. I will pay that which I have vowed. Salvation belongs to Yahweh.
Yahweh spoke to the fish. It spewed Jonah out on the dry land. The word of Yahweh came to Jonah the second time.
Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and preach to it the message that I give you.
So Jonah arose and went, according to the word of Yahweh, and he arrived at Nineveh. Now Nineveh was an exceedingly great city. It would take 3 days to walk it. Jonah entered the city. He began his first day's walk, and he cried out.
In 40 days Nineveh will be overthrown. In 40 days Nineveh will be overthrown. In 40 days Nineveh will be overthrown.
The people of Nineveh believed God, and they proclaimed a fast, and put on sackcloth, from the greatest of them even to the least of them. The news reached the king of Nineveh. He arose from his throne and took off his royal robe. He covered himself with sackcloth and sat in ashes.
Publish this proclamation through Nineveh, by the decree of the king and his nobles.
Let neither man nor animal, herd nor flock, taste anything. Let them not eat nor drink water, but let them be covered with sackcloth, both man and animal, and let them cry mightily to God. Yes, let them turn everyone from his evil way, and from the violence that is in his hands.
Who knows whether God will not turn and relent, and turn away from his fierce anger, so that we might not perish?
God saw their works, that they turned from their evil way. God relented of the disaster which he said he would do to them, and he did not do it. But it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he was angry, and he prayed,
Please, Yahweh, was this not what I said when I was still in my own country? Therefore I hurried to flee to Tarshish. For I knew that you are a gracious God and merciful, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, and you relent of doing harm. So now, Yahweh, I beg you, take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live.
Is it right for you to be angry?
Jonah went out of the city and sat on the east side of the city. He made himself a booth and sat under it in the shade, until he might see what would become of the city. Yahweh God prepared a vine. He made it to come up over Jonah, that it might be a shade over his head, to deliver him from his discomfort. And Jonah was very glad for the vine. The day passed. The next day dawned, and God prepared worms. They chewed at the vine, and it withered. When Jonah saw it, he was angry. Then God prepared a sultry east wind, and the sun beat down hot. At midday Jonah fainted from the heat, and he requested for himself that he might die.
It is better for me to die than to live.
Is it right for you to be angry about the vine?
I am right to be angry, even to death.
You cared about a vine for which you have not labored. You did not make it grow. It came up in a night and perished in a night. Should I not care about the great city Nineveh, in which are more than 120,000 persons, who can't discern between their right hand and their left hand, and also much livestock?